Welcome to the Job Board Podcast. Usually when we talk about a major digital transition, moving a website or uh, upgrading software, things like that, there is this prevailing expectation of absolute precision.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Like we treat it like a surgical procedure. You map out the data, you run the scripts, and the little progress bar on your screen slowly ticks up to 100%.
Right.
And then the engineer just points at the monitor and says, there it is. We moved the ones and zeros. It's done.
Because, historically, that's how we've been conditioned to think about data,
Yeah.
right? It feels entirely binary.
Yeah.
It was over there on the old server, and now it is over here on the new server. It's clean, it's mathematical, and honestly, it's just incredibly comforting.
It is.
We like things to be neatly categorized, especially when we're dealing with our own business infrastructure. We crave that definitive finish line where we can just wipe our hands and say, the project is complete.
But then you step into the actual world of migrating a two-sided marketplace. Moving a job board is, it's not like moving a static WordPress blog where it's just, text and images.
Not at all.
You are dealing with dynamic user accounts, expiring listings, active subscription billing, automated email triggers. Suddenly, that clean, comforting progress bar is just a total illusion.
Oh, 100%.
We are looking at an operational landscape that is, well, honestly, it's incredibly murky.
It is the absolute definition of diagnostic muddy waters.
Yeah.
And that is exactly where so many operators find themselves when they make that fateful decision to move their platform.
Yeah.
They think they're just moving a database, but they're actually transplanting a living, breathing digital ecosystem.
Exactly. So today we are taking a deep dive into the ultimate migration playbook. And let's set the parameters right up front so you know exactly what we are getting into here. You, the listener, you have already decided to move your job board to a new software platform. The destination is chosen. You know where you are going. So we are not going to spend a single second today comparing platforms or debating which software has the best features.
Which is a massive relief, frankly. That which platform is best conversation is endless.
It never ends.
It's completely subjective. You've made your choice. You've signed the new contract. The real challenge, the terrifying part, is what happens next.
Exactly. We have a stack of research here, and it's anchored by this really phenomenal, highly detailed guide from Kavuno, written by Abhitias Tungal and Jack Walsh.
Yeah, great guide.
It really is. And the core tension they highlight right out of the gate is pretty sobering. They basically say migrating a job board is highly disruptive, and the actual technical move of your database is actually the easy part.
Yeah.
The data move is just the tip of the iceberg.
It's the part everyone fixates on, because it's tangible, but a botched database export is probably the least likely thing to actually destroy your business. The things that will permanently damage your revenue and your reputation are the silent failures occurring deep beneath the surface.
So we are going to adopt the tone of those friends who have survived a deeply painful multi-month migration process. We are pulling you aside, sitting you down, and sharing exactly what we wish we had known before we touched a single line of code.
A little tough love.
Exactly. This deep dive is going to be incredibly practical. It's going to be cautionary, but ultimately it's going to be reassuring because this entire chaotic process is completely manageable if you enforce discipline in your prep work.
The overarching goal here is to protect the three foundational pillars of your job board: your organic search traffic, the integrity of your underlying data, and the trust of the employers who are actually paying you.
Yes.
If any of those three pillars buckle during the move, the entire structure collapses.
So let's start by dismantling a very specific, very dangerous, false sense of security. It's that feeling operators get when they see their shiny new site go live for the first time. The guide calls it the illusion of, it looks fine.
Oh, man. It is a very, very seductive illusion.
You know the exact moment I'm talking about, right? You've done the data import, you flip the DNS switch, the new custom domain propagates across the internet, you pull it up on your laptop, and the logo is perfectly centered, the brand colors pop, the search bar works, you type in marketing manager, and boom, the jobs populate instantly. The site is fast, it looks, well, completely fine.
And that is exactly the moment when most operators pop the champagne.
Right.
They send a Slack message to the team saying, we did it, and they think they've crossed the finish line. But the central thesis of the playbook we are looking at is that migrations rarely fail with a massive, dramatic site crash.
It doesn't just go offline.
Exactly. Your site isn't going to just throw a giant 500 server error, catch fire, and go dark. they fail silently, and they fail slowly over a period of weeks.
Okay, let me stop you there because I want to make sure I'm understanding this mechanism. If the database migrated successfully, the jobs are right there on my screen, the search function works, and the site loads incredibly fast. How exactly is that a failure?
Yeah, it's counterintuitive.
Like, what is breaking silently in the background if the front end looks perfect?
Well, this is where we have to draw a hard line between technical continuity and business continuity.
Okay.
Technical continuity simply means the ones and zeros successfully move from server A to server B. The database rows exist. The text of the job description is, it's rendering on a page.
Right.
That is what you are seeing when you say it looks fine. Business continuity, on the other hand, means your commercial ecosystem is still functioning.
So the ability to actually make money and attract users.
Exactly. The site might look beautiful on your desktop, but what you can't see is that your organic traffic is secretly cratered.
Oh, wow.
Why? Because Google has no idea where your category pages went, so they just dropped you from the search rankings. Or consider the employer side. An employer logs in to renew their $1,000 monthly subscription. The site looks great, but their payment history didn't map correctly to the new billing architecture.
Oh, that's bad.
It's terrible. The system asks them to start over and re-enter their credit card. Annoyed, they just close a tab and tell themselves they'll do it later. And they never do.
I see. So the failure isn't the software crashing. The software is actually working exactly as it was programmed to. The failure is the business bleeding out invisibly because the connecting tissue between the data, the search engines, and the human users was severed.
Precisely. You might have technically moved the jobs, but if Google can't find them and your employers can't pay you to post new ones without jumping through hoops, your migration was an objective failure.
Yeah.
And the truly insidious part of this is the time delay. Most operators only discover these silent failures 3, 4, maybe 5 weeks later.
Because they aren't looking for it.
Right. They log into their analytics dashboard, expecting to see a massive spike in growth from this beautiful new platform, and the chart looks like a cliff. Traffic is down 60%, revenue is dipping, and by the time you realize it, the damage to your search rankings is already done, and clawing that authority back takes months of agonizing work.
Which means the actual work of a successful migration happens long before the new site ever goes live. According to this playbook, preventing that silent catastrophe starts before a single line of data is ever exported.
Yes.
It's what they call the document before you touch anything principle.
It is the single most important, absolute non-negotiable step in the entire process. You have to audit what you actually have. And, the Kavuno guide points out that this audit only takes a couple hours of focused work, but skipping it will absolutely cost you weeks of troubleshooting later.
They talk about something called the baseline trap. It's this arrogance we all have about our own businesses.
Oh, definitely.
If I asked you right now about your job board, you'd say, oh, we have about 5,000 jobs, a couple hundred employers, a solid mailing list. You rely on gut feelings. But gut feelings are entirely useless in a data migration.
Useless.
You need exact, down-to-the-digit numbers like how many active job listings, not expired, active, exactly how many employer accounts, how many candidate profiles have actual uploaded resumes attached to them versus just empty shells, how many job alert subscribers.
The psychology behind this is fascinating, really. Operators rely on their intuition because they look at their dashboards every day. But during a migration, you are feeding raw data into a new machine.
Right.
If you import your database and the new platform gives you a success message that says 4,812 jobs imported successfully, you are going to feel great. But what if you actually had 5,200 active jobs on the old platform?
You wouldn't know. You just see the success message and assume it grabbed everything perfectly.
Exactly. If you don't have the exact documented baseline printed out on your desk before you start the export, you have absolutely no way to verify if the migration actually worked. You are just trusting a progress bar.
And as we established, progress bars are liars.
They absolutely are. You need to be able to say, I had exactly 5,200 active jobs yesterday. The new system says 4,812. Where are the missing 388 jobs? That is how you catch a mapping error before it becomes a business crisis.
And beyond just counting records, the most critical piece of documentation happens in Google Search Console. The guide lays out a very specific workflow for this, which I love because it's so actionable.
Yeah, that's great.
You log into Google Search Console, you click on the Performance tab, then you go to Pages, and then you hit Export. But here's the key. You want to download the top performing URLs from the last 12 months, not just the last week.
That 12-month time frame is vital, and it's something people get wrong all the time. They pull a 30-day report because they want the most current data. But a 30-day report completely ignores seasonality.
Right, like if you run a job board for, I don't know, the hospitality industry or ski resorts or summer camps.
Exactly.
Hello.
If you pull a report in October, you might completely miss a highly trafficked category page for summer lifeguard jobs that drives massive volume in March.
Oh, wow.
If you don't know that page is historically valuable, you won't realize it didn't migrate properly until March rolls around and your traffic suddenly tanks. The 12-month export gives you the full cyclical picture of your business.
And this export becomes your map. It shows you what actually drives traffic, not what you think matters.
Right.
You might be incredibly proud of some new flashy feature page you built last month, but the export shows that your entire business is actually being sustained by a random blog post you wrote 3 years ago about how to write a nursing resume and a specific location category page for nursing jobs in Chicago.
That happens more often than you would think. You are documenting the evergreen URLs that accumulate authority over time. And it's important to note the distinction here. Individual job listings come and go. A specific posting for a registered nurse at City Hospital expires in 30 days.
Right, you don't need to save those.
No, you don't need to meticulously track the SEO value of ephemeral expiring pages. You need to track the structural foundation, the category pages, the location pages, the company profile pages, and the blog content. That export is the blueprint of your house.
And the documentation doesn't stop at spreadsheets and data exports. The guide stresses that you need visual proof. You need to sit down and literally take screenshots of your current settings.
Oh yes, take pictures of everything.
Your pricing tiers, the posting duration limits, the exact cost of a featured listing upgrade. You need screenshots of your email templates, your welcome sequences, and your automated expiration triggers.
Because trying to rebuild complex workflows from memory is a guaranteed way to introduce inconsistencies. And those inconsistencies are toxic to user trust.
Walk me through that. How does a slightly different welcome email damage trust?
Well, imagine an employer who has been using your platform for 3 years. They are a creature of habit. They are used to a very specific workflow. They know that 3 days before their job expires, they get a specific email with a specific button to renew.
Okay, yeah.
If you try to recreate your expiration notices from memory on the new platform, you will inevitably change something. You'll change the tone of the copy or the timing. Maybe it sends 1 day before instead of 3, or
Yeah.
the instructions are slightly different.
And they get confused.
They get confused, and confusion leads to hesitation. They wonder, did the pricing change? Is this a scam? Did my account get messed up?
Right.
These inconsistencies cause your existing customers to pause and submit support tickets instead of just clicking renew. You want the new platform to feel like a renovated version of the house they already live in. The furniture might be nicer, but the light switches should be in the exact same place. Visual documentation is how you ensure that familiarity.
Speaking of houses, this brings us to what the guide describes as a massive fatal trap. And it's so easy to fall into because it feels like the logical next step. It's like moving out of an apartment. Imagine packing up all your boxes, driving to your new place, and immediately throwing your old apartment keys down the storm drain before you've even checked if your new keys actually unlock the front door.
Yes, the temptation of canceling your old plan too soon.
You get excited, you sign the contract for the new platform, you run the initial database export, you see the file download to your desktop, and then you immediately go to the billing page of your old software and hit cancel subscription. You think, great, I just saved myself $50 for the rest of the month.
And that $50 will end up costing you thousands. The source material is absolutely adamant about this. Do not, under any circumstances, cancel your old plan until the new site is entirely live, tested, and stable.
But why is it so dangerous? If I have the CSV file with all my data on my computer, why do I need the old software active?
Because a raw CSV file does not contain the context of your platform's architecture.
Right.
And, more importantly, the moment you hit cancel, many SaaS platforms operate with ruthless efficiency. They actively restrict your admin access or completely purge your data from their servers the absolute second you downgrade or cancel, just to save on their own hosting costs.
So you can't go back and look at anything at all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Fast forward 3 days, you were trying to map your data into the new system, and you realize, wait, how exactly was our remote flexibility custom field configured on the back end? Was it a drop-down menu or a checkbox?
Oh, no.
You try to log into your old admin dashboard to check the settings, and you are locked out, the account is suspended, it's gone. You tried to save a fraction of a monthly fee, and you just torched your entire visual reference library. You have no way to verify how your platform was actually built.
It's a painful lesson, but it makes total sense. You must maintain overlapping subscriptions for at least the duration of the migration and the testing phase. Consider paying for both platforms simultaneously for a month or two as a necessary, non-negotiable insurance policy.
It's just the cost of doing business.
Exactly. So we've documented our starting point. We have our spreadsheets, our exact user counts, our Google Search Console baseline exports, our folders full of screenshots, and we definitely haven't canceled our old software yet.
And we are prepped.
We are prepped. Now, let's look at the actual battlefield. We are going to walk through the 5 migration mistakes that fundamentally tank traffic and destroy user trust. We're going to treat these like visceral, relatable war stories because these aren't hypothetical theories. These are the exact traps operators fall into every single day.
They are incredibly common. And the first war story is perhaps the most destructive of them all. We can call it the 404 mass extinction.
This entire story revolves around changing URLs without implementing 301 redirects. So let's break this down for anyone who doesn't live in server architecture. Imagine the scenario. Your old platform had a specific category page that ranked #1 on Google for software engineer jobs in San Francisco.
A very valuable page.
Highly valuable. It drives a massive amount of your daily traffic. The URL for that page was, let's say, yourdomain.com/software engineer San Francisco. Now you migrate to a new software platform. And this new platform, just by the nature of how it's coded, structures its URLs slightly differently. Maybe it nests things by category first. So the new URL becomes yourdomain.com category software engineering San Francisco.
Right. And from a human perspective, looking at it on a screen, it looks like a completely minor, harmless structural change.
Yeah, it's almost identical.
The words are mostly the same. The intent is the same. A human user understands it's the exact same page.
But to Google, it's not the same page at all, is it? To Google's automated crawlers, that old URL simply vanished. It no longer exists. If a user clicks an old link, they hit a dead end, a 404 error page.
Ah.
And if you don't put a 301 redirect in place, that page 1 ranking that took you 3 years to build vanishes overnight.
And it's not just the search ranking. It's the link equity. Every single backlink that other websites, industry blogs, or news outlets have built pointing to that old URL over the years, dead. A 301 redirect is essentially a digital mail forwarding service.
How does that actually work mechanically? Are you just like putting a link on the old page?
No, it's a server-level instruction. When a browser or a search engine bot tries to load the old URL, the server instantly intercepts that request and says, hold on, this page is permanently moved to this new address, and it automatically routes them to the new URL.
Oh, okay.
The critical part is the word permanently. The 301 status code explicitly tells search engines the historical value, the trust, and the ranking authority of the old URL should now be entirely transferred and credited to this new URL. Without mapping those 301 redirects, which is usually done via a massive spreadsheet where you map old URLs to new URLs line by line, you're essentially asking Google to start evaluating your entire business from scratch. You're throwing away years of accumulated authority. It is a mass extinction event for your organic traffic.
Which is terrifying, but totally avoidable if you map the redirects. Okay, let's move to war story number 2, the job alert amnesia.
Ah, yes. Forgetting the job alert subscribers. This one is brutal because of who it impacts.
Right. This mistake hurts because it directly affects your most engaged, high-intent users. These are the people who actively raised their hands, gave you their email address, and said, please, I'm actively looking for work. Email me every single day with new opportunities.
The best users.
They are the absolute lifeblood of your application volume. They are the reason employers pay you. And yet, when operators move their data, they get so hyper-focused on moving the static objects, the job posts, and the employer profiles, that they completely forget to export the dynamic, complex list of job alert preferences.
It's a complex data structure. A job alert isn't just an email address. It's an email address tied to specific parameters, like marketing roles, within 20 miles of Austin, paying over $80K. Moving that relational data is difficult, so it just gets left behind.
Oh.
But the guide highlights a secondary, even more dangerous layer to this mistake. Let's assume you do remember to export the list perfectly. You have 50,000 highly engaged job alert subscribers. You are moving to a brand new email service provider built into your new platform.
Okay.
If you just take that raw list of 50,000 emails, upload it to the new system, and immediately start blasting out daily alerts from a new IP address without a proper transition, you're stepping into an absolute minefield.
Right. The guide mentions GDPR and CAN spam violations. And just to be clear, these aren't just minor terms of service risk slaps. These are massive regulatory frameworks with severe financial penalties.
Exactly. But even beyond the legal threat, from a purely technical standpoint, doing a cold blast from a new system is operational suicide.
Why? If they opted in on the old site, why does the new system matter to the email providers?
Because email providers like Gmail, Outlook, and Apple Mail
Mm-hmm.
rely on domain and IP reputation. They don't know you just migrated your software. All they see is a brand new server, an IP address with zero sending history, suddenly trying to push 50,000 emails a day containing a bunch of links.
Oh, I see.
That behavior looks exactly like a malicious spammer. If you do that, your bounce rates and spam complaints will spike instantly. Your new domain reputation will be ruined before you even get started. You will be permanently flagged as spam, and your emails won't even reach the promotions tab. They will go straight to the junk folder.
So how do you transition them safely without getting flagged as a spammer?
The guide provides a very specific protocol. You do not just start sending alerts from the new system. You send a "we're moving and upgrading" email from your old system first.
Oh, clever.
In that email, you explain the amazing new features, and you provide a clear link asking them to click to confirm their subscription or update their preferences on the new platform. You use the trusted, established email server to pass the baton to the new server.
But wait, if you make them click a link to resubscribe, you aren't going to get a 100% conversion rate. You'll lose some subscribers that way.
You absolutely will. You might lose 20 or 30% of your list. But here is the hard truth. Losing a percentage of passive, unengaged subscribers who couldn't be bothered to click a link is infinitely better than destroying your email deliverability for your entire platform on week one. You are trading vanity metrics for a clean, highly engaged deliverable list.
Okay, that perfectly segues into war story number 3. This is one that I actually see job board operators actively defend sometimes. Let's call it the zombie job board.
Importing dirty historical data.
Exactly. You pull your database export from your old software and you look at the file, and you have 10,000 expired jobs dating all the way back to 2019.
A huge file.
Now, let's play devil's advocate for a second. If I am a job board operator, shouldn't I want to keep all those thousands of expired jobs? I mean, doesn't importing a massive database of 10,000 listings make my new site look huge, highly authoritative, and wildly successful to anyone browsing it for the first time?
It's a very common temptation. The logic seems sound on the surface. More pages equals more size, and size equals authority, right? But the source material thoroughly debunks this strategy. Expired jobs older than 6 months absolutely do not merit migration to the live front end of your new site.
Break that down for me. Why is it so harmful?
It's harmful on 2 completely different fronts: user experience and search engine mechanics. Let's look at the user perspective first. Imagine a candidate lands on your shiny new site. They search for a specialized role, say senior data analyst. They get a list of results. They click on the first interesting job, only to find a banner that says, "This position was filled 3 years ago." Okay, fine. They go back. They click the second job, also filled in 2021. They click 5 jobs in a row, and every single one is ancient history. What is that candidate's immediate conclusion?
That the board is dead.
Exactly. They will instantly conclude that your board is abandoned. It's a ghost town. It's just an archive of dead listings. You have completely destroyed their trust, and they will never return to your site.
Right. It's like walking into a massive grocery store and the shelves are totally packed, but when you pick up a box of cereal, you realize it expired 4 years ago. You aren't going to think, wow, what a big store. You're going to think, I need to leave immediately.
That is a perfect analogy. You are prioritizing the illusion of scale over the reality of utility. And from an SEO perspective, keeping those dead jobs is even worse because you're creating massive database bloat that actively works against you. This comes down to a concept called crawl budget.
What is a crawl budget? I hear that term thrown around by SEOs all the time, but what does it actually mean mechanically?
Google does not have infinite servers or infinite time to scan every single page on the internet every day. They allocate a specific amount of server resources, a budget, to crawl your specific website based on your site's overall authority and update frequency. They might decide, we are going to crawl 500 pages on this job board today.
Okay.
If your site is bloated with 10,000 dead expired jobs from 2019, Googlebot is going to wander through your site, spending its precious allocated crawl budget reading thousands of useless, outdated pages. By the time it exhausts its budget, it might not have even found the 50 brand new, highly relevant paying jobs you posted this morning.
Oh, wow. So your old garbage is literally blocking Google from seeing your new inventory.
Exactly. You're actively confusing search engines about what is currently valuable on your site. The only exception the guide makes is if you are keeping that historical data strictly in a hidden, non-indexed backend archive, solely for your own internal reporting and analytics. If it's not for internal use, cut the dead weight and purge the zombies.
Okay, war story number 4. We hinted at this earlier. The desktop delusion.
This brings us right back to the illusion of "it looks fine" that we opened the show with.
This is all about skipping the test phase. You do the migration, you sit down at your desk with your massive 32-inch monitor, you click around the new site, you check a few menus, and it looks flawless. You give the engineer the green light, but you didn't test it on a phone.
And that is a fatal error, because mobile is where the vast majority of your candidates are likely browsing and applying.
Right, a button that looks perfectly aligned on a massive desktop screen might be completely pushed off the edge of the screen on a mobile device. A vital form field where they upload their resume might be obscured by the mobile keyboard popping up, making it literally impossible for a candidate to actually submit an application.
The guide is brutally clear about what constitutes actual testing. Clicking around a site is not testing. Looking at it is not testing. You have to actively process a real transaction.
Walk me through what a real transaction means in this context.
It means you cannot just look at the pricing page and say, yep, the prices are correct. Right. You have to go into your new backend system, create a hidden 100% discount coupon, then log out. Open an incognito window on your phone. Register as a brand new dummy employer. Go through the entire checkout flow step by step. Enter the coupon code. Verify that the payment gateway processes the $0 transaction without throwing an error. And finally, verify that the job actually publishes to the live board and the receipt email fires correctly to your inbox.
That's a lot of steps.
It is. And then you switch roles. You log in as a dummy candidate on your phone, you find that dummy job, you fill out the entire application form, upload a test PDF resume, hit submit, and verify that the application notification actually reaches the dummy employer's inbox.
You can't just trust that the software is supposed to do it because it's out of the box. You have to physically watch the entire loop close.
Because if a candidate spends 20 minutes painstakingly filling out a profile on their phone while sitting on a bus, and they finally get to the end, and the submit button is unclickable due to a mobile rendering error, you haven't just lost a single application. You've permanently alienated a user who will likely take to social media to complain about how broken your system is.
Which brings us to the final war story. War story number 5, premature celebration. This is the danger of stopping the monitoring process too early.
This is a very natural human tendency. The migration happens over a weekend. The team monitors the site obsessively for the first 48 hours. When nothing catches fire, when the servers hold up and the initial jobs post correctly, everyone breathes a sigh of relief.
We survived.
Right. They assume the migration is a total success, they close their monitoring tabs, and they move on to other backlog projects.
But the guide says the real structural issues rarely show up on day 1. They often surface in weeks 2 through 4.
Because search engines and user billing cycles do not operate instantaneously. Let's look at search engines first. It takes significant time for Google to crawl your entirely new site structure, process all those thousands of 301 redirects we talked about, and update its global search index.
That makes sense.
A redirect chain that technically worked perfectly on day 1 might start causing massive indexing delays as Googlebot hits those crawl limits we discussed in week 3. Or consider canonical tags.
Wait, pause for a second. Canonical tag error for anyone who isn't living in back-end SEO code. What is a canonical tag actually doing, and how does a migration break it?
A canonical tag is essentially a VIP pass that tells Google, out of these 5 very similar pages, this specific one is the master copy that you should rank. Job boards naturally create a lot of duplicate content because a single job might appear in a marketing jobs category, a remote jobs category, and a full-time jobs category. The canonical tag tells Google they're all pointing back to one master listing, preventing duplicate content penalties.
Oh, okay, so it keeps Google from penalizing you for having the same job everywhere.
Exactly. During a migration, if the code mapping gets sloppy, those tags can break. Suddenly, Google sees 50,000 duplicate pages instead of 10,000 unique ones. It gets confused, and it might just de-index all of them. Pages you assumed were perfectly fine on launch day might suddenly get dropped from the index 3 weeks later. If you aren't checking your monitoring tools weekly for at least a month, you are flying blind during the most vulnerable period of the transition.
Okay, so we've survived the technical war stories. We've talked about data mapping. We've talked about bots, redirect rules, and crawl budgets. But a job board is fundamentally a two-sided marketplace made of people. It's human beings trying to hire other human beings. So we have to address people who are actually paying the bills.
Absolutely.
So we've secured the data and kept the Google bots happy, but none of that matters if the actual human beings paying for the site suddenly get their credit cards double charged or find out their active listings banished. How do we move the money and the users without breaking the trust?
This is a critical area that most technical migration guides completely ignore. They focus so much on the database that they treat the users as just another set of rows and columns to be moved.
The Kavuno guide drops a fairly brutal truth right at the start of this section, and I think every operator needs to hear it. Your users do not care about your shiny new platform.
They really don't. And it's hard for operators to accept because they've just spent months agonizing over this new software. You might be absolutely thrilled about the new back-end analytics dashboard or the sleeker UI or the improved loading speeds, but your employers have their own businesses to run. They are stressed about filling a role.
They only care about three very specific things. Are my currently active jobs still live? Does my subscription or my prepaid job pack still work? And do I have to do any extra annoying work because of your internal decision to change software?
And if the answer to that third question is yes, you have to do extra work, you are going to face massive friction. That's why managing active, recurring subscriptions is the most delicate, high-stakes part of the entire migration. You are messing with the money.
Let's dig deep into the three specific options the source provides for handling these recurring subscriptions. Because if you mess this up, you directly impact your monthly recurring revenue. Option 1 is the manual transfer.
This is the brute force method. This involves exporting your subscriber list and their secure payment tokens from the old platform, usually from a processor like Stripe, setting up the exact equivalent subscription plans on the new platform, and manually migrating the billing details over so the cycle continues uninterrupted.
Sounds exhausting.
It is highly time-consuming for you, the operator. You're doing a lot of stressful back-end matching, ensuring employer A is still mapped to the 199-month plan. But it is the absolute cleanest, most professional experience for the employer. They don't have to lift a finger. Their billing just continues seamlessly on the new platform.
Option 2 is what they call letting it run out. This sounds like the easiest path.
It is the easiest for the operator, technically speaking. You simply make an announcement that current plans will continue on the old platform until they hit their natural 30-day expiration date, and once they expire, users will need to manually log in to the new platform, recreate their profile, and resubscribe with their credit card.
That sounds simple enough, but I have a feeling the downside is huge.
The downside is catastrophic friction. You are essentially forcing your customers to start the relationship over from scratch. Whenever you ask a user to pull out their physical credit card, type in the numbers, and make a new purchasing decision, a significant percentage of them will simply choose not to. They'll say, you know what, I don't really need to hire right now anyway. It introduces a massive, entirely avoidable churn risk.
And then there's option 3, which feels like a very clever middle path account credit.
This is an elegant solution if manual transfer is technically impossible. You calculate the remaining prorated value of their current subscription on the old platform. Let's say they are halfway through a $100 monthly plan. You owe them $50 of value. You issue them a digital credit for that exact amount on the new platform.
That's pretty fair.
It's fair, it's transparent, it respects the money they've already spent, and it gives them a financial incentive to log into the new platform to claim their credit, while still transitioning them entirely into the new billing ecosystem.
The guide makes a great point here. You have to pick one of these approaches and communicate it flawlessly. Do not leave people guessing whether they are going to be double charged next month. Ambiguity is the enemy of trust.
Transparency and precise timing are everything here.
So let's talk about the communication timeline, because it's different depending on who you are talking to. For employers, the people actually paying you, how far in advance do we warn them? A month? 2 months? Give them plenty of time to prepare.
Actually, the guide strongly advises against that. 1 to 2 weeks is the sweet spot. If you tell them a month in advance, they will completely forget by the time it happens. If you tell them 24 hours in advance, they will panic.
Okay, so 1 to 2 weeks. And the guide gives a very specific outline for this email. You don't just say, we're upgrading. You tell them exactly when it's happening, and you set realistic expectations by mentioning there will be 2 to 4 hours of planned downtime. You tell them exactly what happens to their active postings, reassuring them that everything transfers automatically. And most importantly, you proactively confirm that their paid features, like featured listings or resume database access, will carry over.
You must anticipate their anxiety. Do not make them ask. If an employer has to stop what they are doing and email your support desk to ask if the featured listing they just paid $500 for yesterday is going to disappear during the move, you have already failed at communication. You have introduced stress into their day. Your email should answer their panic before they even feel it.
Contrast that with how you communicate with the job seekers. They don't need a 2-week warning, do they?
Not at all. Job seekers have a completely different, much more transactional relationship with your platform. They log in to search, apply, and leave.
So for seekers, the guide recommends sending an email the day before or even the day of the migration. You just let them know they will need to reset their password on their very first login to the new site for security purposes.
Keep it immediate, highly actionable, and simple. If you email a job seeker 2 weeks in advance to tell them about a back-end platform migration, it is completely useless information to them.
I love the analogy that comes to mind here. It sounds like, as an operator managing this transition, you need to act like a swan.
A swan.
Yeah. You have to be gliding gracefully on the surface, looking completely serene, sending clear, calm, perfectly timed emails to your employers, making the whole thing look completely effortless. While underneath the surface, where nobody can see, you are paddling furiously underwater, manually mapping custom fields, writing massive 301 redirect spreadsheets, and migrating their straight billing history line by agonizing line.
That is a perfect analogy. The immense technical effort, the chaos of the migration, should be completely invisible to your end users. All they should experience is the graceful glide.
All right, so the employers are happy, they're informed, the data is mapped, the money is secure. Now we have to talk to Google, which is arguably the most intimidating part for a lot of people. This brings us to the SEO transition, and I think this is the most actionable, technical part of this entire deep dive.
Because as we discussed in the war stories, if Google loses your site, your business dies. The guide breaks down the Google Search Console timeline, and they frame it beautifully. They don't just view GSC as a passive reporting tool. They treat it as an active early warning system.
Let's walk through this timeline day by day, as if we are living it. Day 1. The new site just went live an hour ago. The DNS has propagated. What are we actively doing in Google Search Console right now?
The very first thing you do is submit your new XML sitemap. This is essentially handing Google the brand new updated table of contents for your site. You are saying, here's the new structure, here's where everything lives now.
Okay, sitemap is in. Then what?
Next, use the URL inspection tool. You plug in your homepage and maybe 5 to 10 of your core, most valuable category pages, the ones you identified in your baseline export, and you manually request indexing. You are explicitly telling Googlebot, do not wait to stumble across this in a week. Come look at this right now, today.
But the guide includes a crucial caveat here, specifically for job boards. For the individual job listings themselves, manual URL inspection isn't the best route.
Right, because job boards are fundamentally different from normal websites. They generate hundreds or thousands of pages dynamically every week. Manual inspection is far too slow.
Too much volume.
The guide recommends using the Google Indexing API. This is a programmatic method. Instead of passively waiting for Google to pull data from your site, the API allows your software to actively push a notification directly to Google the millisecond a new job is posted or an old job expires. It is vastly more efficient for the high turnover nature of job listing data. It ensures your search presence accurately reflects your real-time inventory.
That makes total sense. Push versus pull. Now, what if my migration involved changing my actual domain name? Let's say I bought a better URL and I moved from oldjobboard.com to newnichejobs.com.
If the domain changes, day 1 is also when you must use the change of address tool within Google Search Console.
What does that actually do? Doesn't the 301 redirect handle that?
The 301 redirects handle the individual page-to-page routing, but the change of address tool operates at the property level. Assuming you have verified ownership of both domains, this tool explicitly informs Google that the entire business entity has officially relocated. It acts as a massive signal boost that helps transfer your historical domain-level ranking signals to the new URL much faster than relying purely on bots discovering the 301 redirects organically.
Okay, so that's day 1. You've rung the bell, you've handed them the map. Now we move into week 1. The guide calls this the error hunting phase.
You should practically be living in the index coverage report during week 1. You are proactively looking for spikes in 404 errors, broken redirect chains, or 500-level server errors. Every single error flag in this report represents a page that Google is actively trying to understand but failing to access. You fix them the day they appear.
They also mention looking at something called the excluded pages list. That sounds counterintuitive. Why would I care about pages Google is ignoring?
This is a subtle but vital diagnostic tool. Google will often categorize pages as excluded if it thinks they are exact duplicates or if it deems them low value. Now, some of this is perfectly normal, for instance. You might intentionally want your complex tag filters or search parameter URLs excluded to save troll budget.
Sure.
But if you look at the excluded list and you see your primary, highly valuable location pages like nursing jobs in Chicago showing up there, you have a major structural emergency. It means Google sees your most valuable pages, but is actively deciding not to index them, likely due to a canonical tag issue or a severe content rendering problem that needs immediate investigation.
Which brings us to the agonizing period, weeks 2 through 4. This is where we go back to the baseline export we talked about in the very beginning.
Now you are comparing your live current impressions and clicks to that pre-migration baseline data. You are looking for the delta. Are we holding steady? Are certain categories dropping off while others grow?
Okay, imagine I'm sitting at my desk on week 3, I pull up my analytics, I look at my baseline, and my stomach drops. My traffic has taken a massive dip. Impressions are down 20%. The graph looks terrible. How do I know in that moment if this is just a normal, temporary Google reassessment fluctuation or if I totally botched the 301 redirects and my business is actually crashing? How do you distinguish between a situation that requires patience and a situation that requires absolute panic?
That is the most terrifying, agonizing question for any operator. The guide provides a very clear framework for navigating this, relying on a deeply counterintuitive SEO truth. You have to accept that ranking fluctuations, even significant dips for the first 2 to 4 weeks, are entirely normal.
Wow, really?
Google is essentially recrawling your entire digital footprint. It is evaluating the new code structure, testing the new loading speeds, and verifying thousands of redirects. During this heavy processing time, things bounce around. It's turbulence.
So a dip doesn't automatically mean failure.
Not immediately, no. The difference between a temporary reassessment dip and a fatal botch comes down to 2 things: error logs and recovery time. If you implemented your 301 redirects perfectly, and you have verified that in your GSC error reports, meaning you have 0 massive 404 spikes, a temporary reassessment dip usually corrects itself and recovers within 7 to 14 days. The engine sputters while it switches fuel tanks, but then it catches and runs smooth.
And what if it doesn't catch?
However, if you are hitting week 4 or week 5, and the organic traffic to your core money pages has dropped and stayed completely flat, and you are seeing persistent, unresolved coverage errors in GSC, that is when you know the engine has stalled. Something is fundamentally broken in your routing.
And what if the migration wasn't perfect? What if I made a few mistakes? Is it over?
This is where the guide offers a really vital piece of reassurance. They argue that even an imperfect migration one, where maybe you lost a few minor backlinks or had a couple of messy redirect chains you had to fix in week 2, is not a death sentence.
That's good to hear.
If this migration is moving you to a fundamentally better software platform with faster load times, cleaner technical SEO architecture, and a better mobile experience, the move will compound in your favor long term. You will recover the initial dip, and you will likely far surpass your old baseline because your new foundation is intrinsically stronger. You just have to have the nerve to survive the turbulence of the transition.
I really love that phrasing. A better platform compounds in your favor. That is such a clarifying perspective. It makes the temporary pain and stress of the migration feel purposeful. It's an investment, not just a chore.
Exactly.
So let's bring all of this together. We've gone through the rigorous documentation phase. We've survived the war stories. We've mapped out the communication plans to protect our revenue. And we've navigated the SEO turbulence. Let's put this entire process on a calendar so you, the listener, know exactly what you are in for when you start this project.
Timeframes are always highly variable based on the size of the business, but the source material gives us a very solid, pragmatic window to plan around. For most standard job board migrations, you should expect a timeline of 4 to 8 weeks from kickoff to final launch.
That's a month or 2 of focused, dedicated work.
Yes. Now, if you have a relatively simple migration, say smaller niche job board, relatively few custom fields, no crazy API integrations, and you are keeping the exact same domain name, You might be able to compress that timeline into 3 to 4 weeks if you're disciplined.
But what pushes it to the extreme end? What makes a migration take 3 months?
Complexity scales the timeline exponentially. If you have massive multi-gigabyte data sets, thousands of active employer accounts with varied subscription tiers, if you are changing your domain name and rebranding simultaneously, or, crucially, if you have complex integrations like custom automated feeds pulling jobs from external applicant tracking systems, or highly customized Stripe billing architectures with unique discount logic. If you have those, you need to realistically budget 8 to 12 weeks.
3 months? That feels like a very long time to live in migration limbo.
It is exhausting. But the ultimate takeaway from the Covino Guide regarding the speed of a migration is a profound shift in philosophy. The difference between a fast, smooth migration and a slow, agonizing migration is not found in cutting corners. You do not finish faster by skipping the GSC baseline export or by ignoring the mobile testing phase. Cutting those corners is exactly what causes the timeline to blow up.
Right. You save 2 hours of testing and buy yourself 4 weeks of firefighting.
Exactly. The difference in speed comes down entirely to when you choose to deal with the complex details. Do you handle the meticulous data cleaning, the precise custom field mapping, and the exhaustive redirect spreadsheets up front during week 1 and week 2 of the planning phase? Or do you skip that boring prep work, hit the launch button early, and then spend 8 weeks frantically discovering broken form fields and dealing with angry, double-charged employers while your live site is melting down in public?
Preparation compresses the timeline. Panic extends it indefinitely.
That is the perfect summary of the entire playbook.
Yeah.
Doing the heavy lifting in week 1 and week 2, the quiet planning and setup phases, is exactly what makes week 5, the actual launch week, a complete non-event.
You want your launch day to be incredibly boring. You want to flip the switch, watch the analytics traffic route cleanly, see the first few job alerts go out flawlessly, verify a test transaction, and then go get a coffee. You do not want launch day to be an adrenaline-fueled nightmare of putting out fires.
A boring launch day is the absolute hallmark of a masterful professional migration.
Well, we have covered an immense amount of ground today. We want to thank you for joining us on this incredibly thorough deep dive into the job board migration playbook. We've broken down exactly why migrations fail silently rather than loudly. We've explored how to protect your search traffic with meticulous 301 redirects, the delicate high-stakes art of managing employer subscriptions without causing massive churn, and the vital, non-negotiable importance of documenting your baseline before you touch a single setting.
It is an inherently disruptive process. There is
Yeah.
no denying that reality.
Yeah.
But as we've seen through all these steps, it is completely manageable if you enforce discipline in your preparation.
Exactly. And as always, we want to leave you with a final thought, something provocative to mull over as you prepare for your own transition. We spent the last hour dissecting the deep technical and operational mechanics of moving data, preserving software functionality, and mapping URLs. But I think there is a philosophical layer beneath all of this mechanical advice.
There is, if you look closely at all the critical high-stress steps we discussed today, meticulously protecting your SEO so candidates can actually find you, seamlessly transferring billing so employers aren't inconvenienced, strictly testing the mobile experience so job seekers don't try to apply to phantom listings, it really begs a much bigger question about the fundamental nature of this business. We spend so much time worrying about the software. We debate features and loading speeds. But what if the true value of your job board isn't the software platform it runs on at all? What if the actual tangible asset of your business is simply the trust you have built with your audience?
Wow. The software is just the plumbing.
Precisely. The software is just the utilitarian plumbing that wraps the connections. The trust is the asset. If an employer trusts you to deliver high-quality candidates, and a candidate trusts you to present valid, active opportunities, the specific software platform you use to facilitate that connection is entirely secondary.
That's a great point.
So the provocative question to leave you with is this: look at your calendar. How much of your daily operation, both during a stressful migration and in your regular day-to-day workflow, is focused on managing your software, versus how much is relentlessly, obsessively focused on protecting and deepening that trust?
Because at the end of the day, when the progress bar finally hits 100% and the engineer points at the screen and says, there it is, it's done, the ones and zeros might be successfully moved into the new house. But it's the trust that determines if anyone actually decides to walk through the front door tomorrow. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.